Hey, so I'm going to show you guys how to adjust your composition. So basically choosing what you want to include and getting rid of what you don't want to include for your reference image, and also getting it to the right size. Um, and part of why this is important is when you get your good paper, you want the ratio of your picture to be the same as your paper. So, for example, like you don't want your picture to be like really tall and skinny and then have your paper be wide and tall, right? That won't make sense. So, you need the proportions to be right so that when you draw it, it looks like what you're trying to draw. Okay, so this is my picture that I am going to use as my example. So the first thing you want to think about is your composition. So composition basically means, what is going to look best? What are the parts that I really like about this and want to include, and what are the parts that maybe I don't? So for me, like one of the things I'm thinking about, like I really want this eye. And then I'm thinking about like what parts of the cat do I want? Do I want any of this black part? What do I want to include? So remember, you've got your crop tool. You've got to click on your picture so you get the blue highlights, and then you've got your crop tool within Google Docs. So you can kind of play around. Also thinking about like, do I want my image to be more square? Do I want it to be more like portrait orientation or landscape orientation? Like, what am I looking for? So you can kind of think about and play around with what's going to look best for you. I kind of like the nose in here. So I think I might do more of like a landscape orientation where you can see the eye, but also see just a little bit of that nose. So you don't want something like panoramic, for example, like this, because that's going to be a really funky paper shape. Try to keep it to like a square or a rectangle. But I think this looks good. I like that I have a little bit of the nose. I've got lots of colors in here and values. I've got lots of texture. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Okay, so we've got two different standard sizes. So if yours is more of a square, then I want you to try to get yours of 6 by 6. If yours is more of a rectangle, which mine is, you're going to go for 5 by 7. Okay, so we did this last year with our portraits, but you have an add-on called Set Image Size. So if you don't already have that for whatever reason, I want you to go to add-ons and I want you to get add-on and then search Set Image Size, because this allows us to know, type it in. This allows us to know, and it'll look like this, how big your picture is on your Chromebook. So that's really helpful. The other thing you might want to do, like mine's landscape. So I'm going to go to page setup and I'm going to flip to landscape so that the paper fits my layout. Now, if yours is portrait or square, it doesn't matter as much. Okay, so I'm going to open up Set Image Size and I'm going to show the sidebar. So your dimension should show right here, and I'm going to get size. So right now it's in inches. So if it's not in inches, make sure you flip it. We don't want pixels or centimeters, but it should say inches, or if not, change it. And right now the width is 3.75 and the height is 2.63. So it's definitely a rectangle. It's not a square. If it was a square, they should be about the same. So I said we want to try for a 5 by 7 for the rectangle. So I'm going to look for which one's the lower number, and that's my height. So that's going to be my 5, and then I'm going to try to get my width to be my 7. So I'm going to enter 5 here and just hit apply. Okay, so when I did that, do you see how the width automatically went to 7.13? That is super, super close. So what I can do is just kind of go with that. That's pretty close to what I need. If I really want it to be exact, I could come in here and maybe crop just a little tiny bit. I don't think that actually cropped anything. Okay, and now I'm like pretty much exactly at 7 inches for my width and 5 inches for my height. So that is perfect. Now we are not going to grid this like we did last time, but we are going to check our proportions. So we do want it to be really close to our paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to double this. So your picture on your doc, mine's 7 inches by 5 inches. So I'm going to make my paper double that. So that means my paper is going to be 10 by 14. Okay. So a little bit bigger than like a piece of sketchbook paper. Okay. So once I have this is my reference image. This is what I want to use. So when you let me know, like if you know what your good paper, make sure you tell me what size this is so that I can get you the right size paper. Okay. So when I talk about like making sure your composition is ready and, knowing the size of your image, this is what I mean. So if I were turning this in, I would say that my image is 5 by 7 because it is. And then I would turn this in so that I can see what your composition is. Okay. Cool. So that's it. That's all it is. It's just putting the image in, cropping it so that you have the composition that you want, and then doing the set image size so we can figure out how big your image is so that we can make sure it's the right size for your paper. Okay. If you get stuck with that, whatever, feel free to either come in for a remote time or I can try to talk you through it. But we did do this last year for intro, so hopefully it feels familiar to you. All right, guys, that's it. I look forward to seeing what you come up with for your compositions. This is one of my favorite projects, and it turns out really, really nice if we take our time and go slow. So excited to see what you guys come up with.